So the first question is a quote from you, which is, your ceiling is an acquisition problem wearing a retention costume.
It started out as a little bit of rage bait where I just started telling every email marketer or retention specialist that subscriptions aren't a retention problem, they're an acquisition problem.
Specifically when you're saying offer testing, is that also around messaging testing? Is that also like encompassed in that is persona?
Yep. It's both. A brand like Groons, they have like 20, 30, 50 funnels going at any given time with just different angles and different hooks for each product because they're trying to figure that out. Protein powder is a really simple example I like to use on this. It's like everybody knows what protein powder is, but people have different reasons they take it. My wife takes it for like bone health and perimenopause. I take it for muscle building. If you start to figure out which use cases of protein powder have the best LTV, you can only figure that out starting at the offer. I kind of hate discounting upfront on subscriptions. I would like to see a world where there's so much value that the subscription costs more, but that's a total another tangent.
Where do you stand on free gifts? Do you see true impact here?
Yeah, I'm a little contrarian here. I've seen a lot of tech platforms that are pushing a feature gift second order to drive retention. And the problem is whenever we've run tests with that, so I'm spending like almost $2,000. Am I getting a $2,000 lift off of that retention play? I think you're giving away margin and you're wasting your time.
Alrighty, welcome in everybody. Have a super exciting episode here with another absolute subscription weapon here. We have Mr. Matt Holman from Subscription Prescription. I've been listening to his podcast for forever, and I've learned a lot from subscription over the past 6 to 12 months as I've been diving deeper and deeper. So had to get him on here. So super excited to chat with him today. So Matthew, thank you for coming on. If you could please just give a little bit of background on you and
Absolutely.
Your experience within subscription, what you're working on right now, and then we'll get to spilling the sauce on subscription
Absolutely.
on today's episode.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed, your tweets and LinkedIn posts, and as you've been leaning into it,
Thank you.
it's been really fun to read that and read those angles. So yeah, I'm Matt Holman. I've been in the subscription game for 6 or 7 years now. I started on the software side, joined a small subscription app called Autoship Cloud that was originally on WooCommerce. And let me tell you, selling on WooCommerce versus Shopify is an absolute nightmare. But for me, it's been a little bit of a fun journey. I've been a B2B SaaS marketer for a long time, and when you're running a subscription platform or any real business, you can try to acquire more customers or try to expand the value of your current customers. And as we started spending more time helping our customers on the platform try to grow, I realized, hey, I kind of like this, like more than other stuff. And so we started a newsletter there. That's where Subscription Prescription first came from, was a newsletter. So that's about almost 4 years old. Podcast is about 3 years old. And realistically, I've had, I don't know, like 300, 400, 500 calls with subscription brands over the years. I'm doing 3, 4, 5 of them a week with people that never work with us. But we started a subscription agency called Subscription Prescription, hyper-focused on subscription-based outcomes. So we don't replace email agencies. You and I have a mutual customer and Learning with Kelsey and do great work together there. We like to let email agencies cook, and we work on stay in our lane. But a lot of it really just has come down to, I think there's a lot of brands that are identifying subscriptions as a huge opportunity, but they lack the expertise. You look at the email marketing space, at the ad space, there are 1 million influencers, for good or for worse. There are 1 million YouTube channels, 1 million courses, and subscriptions, I can count them on like both hands, right? So that's what the market I know you're seeing, that we're seeing, and so that's where we're living and working in. And so we've got the agency, and then just launched a new asset called the Cancel Page. It's got a ton of content, offer libraries, emails, guides. It's got an AI chatbot that I've trained with my years of experience on there. You can go ask it questions about too. So a lot going on.
Real quick, I want to highlight my school community right here. So this is Email Marketing Mastery. All the insights that you see right here, I post daily insights right here within the community, and I host live calls twice per week right here. I just had my live call earlier today, answering your questions about retention, email, SMS, and offers. There's a full course in here. There are templates and resources. There is a custom Claude skill even to execute your email and SMS calendars, and so much more. There are over 290 people in here, and I highly recommend you should check it out. Link is going to be in the description. Hell yeah. No, love it. Amazing. And I love the subscription, because that's everything that I'm in love with right now is subscription. I feel like I just like day by day I'm falling more in love with it, being more obsessed with it. And so I love how that's exactly what you do. And as you said, there aren't a lot of people who talk about it. And so everything that you post, everything that some of the other guys post, I'm soaking it all in and then applying it.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
We'll definitely want to talk about the other asset that you have, because there's again, not a lot of resources out there on subscription. So excited to dive into that, but let's rock and roll. So today, like for the episode, we're going to go through the 4 different stages here for subscription. We're going to go over acquisition, so particularly with acquisition and offers, positioning on that side, and then we're going to go into onboarding. So after somebody buys, what do we send them? What does onboarding look like? And then we're going to go into retention. So what does that actually look like to keep customers? And then Winback and recovery and what the sort of processes are there. So we're going to go through each part one by one. Going to try to cover all of it. Lots of stuff to cover. I know you have a ton of knowledge to share, so we're just going to get straight into it. So the first question is a quote from you, which is, your ceiling is an acquisition problem wearing a retention costume. So could you walk me through what you mean by that and kind of like the problem that brands have here?
Yeah, I will say this. I'll start by saying it started out as a little bit of rage bait to get some engagement on Twitter, where I just started telling every email marketer or retention specialist that subscriptions aren't a retention problem, they're an acquisition problem. And the reason for that is just because if you think about it's fairly nuanced. So, but I like to oversimplify it by this: is like, it doesn't matter how good you get at retaining somebody if you don't have somebody to retain. And so every brand out there has some growth coming in. They have some things coming in, and they work on retention. But if you don't shift the focus to how you're acquiring people, you leave a ton of money on the table and a ton of growth on the table. And I'll cite you a few quick examples. So Groons is a really popular one. We've never worked with them, but that's what they've talked about, is understanding really tightly their LTV to CAC ratio. Their payback period has allowed them to scale. We have worked with brands like Instant Hydration and Marsmen, which are scaling super fast. And that is where they put their focus, is on offer testing, because the better you can get at acquiring subscribers, the more your program will grow. And I like to share a little bit of math here too, but it's like, you know this space really, really well on the email side, is within subscriptions. Once somebody's purchased, there are a lot of key levers that I can pull, but the amount of work it takes to take, say, a month 3 retention from, like, say 60% cohort retention to 65 or 70% cohort retention is a lot of work. And you're often like throwing gifts and other things out there to make that work, to get, say, if you have a 10,000 subscriber base, that month 3, that might be like, 500 people that you're trying to get onto the next order.
And if you do those tests, it's going to take months for you to see the results.
Right. Whereas if I'm running tests up front and I can go from a 40% subscriber opt-in rate to a 45% subscriber opt-in rate, that's that 5% month 3 retention and then some. And then the other part of this is so that's just the math of like where you should focus and like how you scale. And at some point, every subscription brand on the planet reaches a point where they get capped. So if I have 10,000 subscribers and I have 10% churn, I'm losing 1,000 subscribers a month. Okay. At some point, if I'm acquiring 2,000 subscribers a month. So right now I'm good. But at 20,000 subscribers, I am acquiring 2,000 a month and I'm losing 2,000 a month, and then I'm capped. Yeah. And I can't grow if I don't improve one or both, right? So there's a natural growth thing. But the final point I like to make is, if you don't test offers, you don't uncover what your best subscribers are, right? And so protein powder is a really simple example I like to use on this. Is like, everybody knows what protein powder is, right? But people have different reasons they take it. My wife takes it for like, bone health and perimenopause and like other reasons there to help her, right? I take it for muscle building, right? Like some people take it for meal supplements. And then even then, some people have different goals. Like Max, you might be trying to get into an Olympian contest, right? Like you're trying to add 30 pounds of muscle. I'm just trying to maintain it at 46. If you start to figure out which use cases of protein powder have the best LTV, that convert the easiest, that take your upsells the easiest, right? You can only figure that out starting at the offer. And so if you're not testing and not figuring out how to acquire better subscribers, you're leaving that ideal customer out in the cold.
Interesting. I love that. And I personally haven't dove into that too much. Is like, specifically when you're saying offer testing, is that also around like messaging testing, like, testing out different funnels around, like, say for example, the Olympian sort of like the big bodybuilder, that LTV or that cohort, that customer cohort, they have way higher retention, right, and subscription rates. And so it's like, all right, well, you take that back to the ad team and it's like, hey, this is like our highest value persona. Let's dump more cash into this, put more efforts into this, more creatives around this. Like when you say offer testing, is that also like
it's both
encompassed in that is persona?
if you think about a brand like Grunes, like again, they have like 20, 30, 50 funnels going at any given time with just different angles and different hooks for each product because they're trying to figure that out. So I would say you could take any product under the sun, even if it's skincare, sunscreen, like toothpaste, whatever it is that's a consumable. There are different reasons people like it or hate it or have tried something else. And then if you get really nuanced into it, like something like protein powder or a supplement, say like turmeric, people take turmeric for like longevity, for reducing swelling. Like there's all these different reasons you can bet it. If I can use a pop-up like Ollie Learn or a post-purchase survey tool like No Commerce, or I'm surveying them through my emails and my onboarding, like having people self-select why they're there, I can start to track the use of something and the copy that that person has. Okay, so that's one part of it. And then the other part is like, hey, is gift with purchase, it might not convert as well, but the LTV is stronger. Or, you know, hey, bundles or bulk options. So there's a lot of different mechanics within subscription offers that you could be testing as well to see like, and at the end of the day, as you grow, you never find just one. Like you use multiples, right? Like you might not be a discount brand except for twice a year, right? Or you want everybody to take the gift with purchase, but some people don't. And then you remarket to them to come back and pick the subscription. So that's what I mean is doing both of those things. Like that's where you find scale. That's where you find the right customers. Like I will say, like, and again, I can rant on this all day long, is like most brands are worrying about the subscribers they're losing. They're worrying too much about churn and not worrying about finding the right customer, because finding the right customer fixes churn. And so that's where I say the other part of the offer testing, it's not just like, you know, better LTV or whatever. It's, hey, if I come up with a better offer, I don't have to convince you to renew from month 1 to month 2 because I got you on the right hook and I got you on the right offer strategy that made you feel like it was a ton of value. And then you get into all the other stuff with onboarding and messaging after the fact that makes that like really like work.
Banger. Love that. So say a brand is listening to this, say they're like that protein powder brand, and they're like, oh shit, like he's totally right, and I'm not even really tracking this. Maybe they have like some sort of sense from customer reviews and who are like the raving fans, but they don't have quantitative sort of like measurable numbers behind this. Like what would be the easiest way for a brand who doesn't really have too much data on this to take this learning and apply it to themselves? Is this going to be, because like setting up offer funnels that and persona funnels, that could be a little bit of work. Like
there
are
there are a ton of ways to do this. So like you just mentioned, like I think I'll just back up and say, if you don't already have the muscle in place for offer testing, and again, that's a broad term, but whether that's with a funnel or on your PDP or some version, you need to work on building that. If you're not updating, if you're not CRO testing, like those are, even if you're $1 million a year brand, you should be doing some of that now. To get the more information, when you're small, you should be calling as many customers as you can in a given week. Like call them, email them personally from the founder, personally from the director level or whatever, to try to get that info. There's a really cool tool out. A good friend of mine, Brian Stark, just released like customer contacts, right? Like that allows like AI to call them if they opt into that. I think just tried and true methods of, you mentioned different funnels, just start testing different hooks to see how people convert and how they retain. You just tag them, and so you can do cohort analysis to see them on tags. Ollie Learn as a pop-up, asking simple questions like, again, if you're selling protein powder and creatine and pre-workout, then I know, again, it's just so simple, silly. It seems obvious, you know, why people are coming to buy from you, but like questions like, you know, what is your desired outcome here? Like, are you losing weight? Are you getting in shape? Are you training for something? Are you doing a high rocks? Like, just imagine if you knew like 10% of all of your protein powder subscribers mentioned that they're training for a high rocks. Well, now from an email, I can hand that off to my email agency and go, hey, look, target these people with high roxas in their area and a special sale on stuff for them. Mm-hmm. Boom. That's unlocking LTV. And then I also like no commerce, post-purchase surveys. And then obviously we look at cancel flows to try to identify like more information from what went wrong for somebody. But there's a lot of different ways to do that. You have to kind of pick a few to start, but it's getting customer feedback. If you can automate it, then even better.
Yeah, 100%. And it's super easy to do that if you use because the first thing that goes to my mind is quiz pop-up forms. Super easy to set up. You ask somebody, hey, what's the biggest problem that you're solving for? Or like, who are you? Like, what kind of person are you? And then you tag them with the profile property, and then you can just take a look at how they convert. We had a brand recently where they sell, it's like a fitness device, and question that we ask in the pop-up form, it just like tracks like your speed and all that sort of stuff. And a question that we ask in the pop-up is, are you an athlete or are you a coach? Like which one are you? Because there are two different people who could buy. And then the brand was running about like 75% towards athletes and 25% towards coaches. And then we just waited a week after we set that up, look at the cohort data. Even though it's about 25% of traffic were the actual coaches, they converted roughly 40% higher on the front end. So that's not necessarily retention, but super easy to track then. And then the brand just flip-flops. Okay, 75% of our spend goes towards creative that's advertising towards coaches rather than athletes. And so
you think about all the onboarding messaging and stuff is like directed at athletes. Now you can realize it's value to segment that or lean into that, and you get better product adoption, better retention. Yeah, exactly.
100%. Love it. And offer. So when we go to offers then, so we kind of like talked about the importance of them in testing different personas and whatnot. What about sort of like product bundles and percentage off, dollars off, all that sort of stuff? It can be kind of intimidating to come up with your offer from nothing. And so what are like kind of the first offers that come to mind for you? So say again, protein brand example. And then also, if anybody, Matt just released this, we're going to have it in the link below, thecancelpage.com. You go to thecancelpage.com/offers. There's a shit ton of brands in here, subscription brands only. And there's just like full breakdowns of all the offers that these successful brands are running. I'm looking at it right now. I'm so glad that there's something like this out there now.
Thanks,
but like, where do you start with like offers? Where are the first things that go to your mind?
So the way I like to think about it too is because I get a lot of brands where like they just have one SKU, right? And because they're new and they're trying to figure that out. And I'll go like really extreme with it. Like, what do you do when you have like a $20 product where 10% off is $2 or 20% off is $4? And how motivating is that for somebody to subscribe to a thing of toothpaste or something like that? And so one of the simplest mechanisms you can start with is a buy more, save more strategy, or a bulk strategy. So it's like, if we're talking toothpaste, let's keep with the protein powder example, because I think that's maybe a little bit more common. It's like, hey, I'm selling a $50 bag of protein. Buy one, it's $50, or you subscribe and save and you get 10% off. So it's $45. If you buy two, we're going to give you an extra discount. We're going to add another 10%. So if you buy two, instead of it being $5, $5 off twice, it's going to be $20 off, right? Because you're buying two plus the subscription. So now it's $80 for 2 bags. Let's make 3 of them is going to be, $120 for 3 of them. And so you start to get into this mechanism of where you're offering more value. So the issue with every subscription brand on the planet is, if I'm selling one thing and I just have a discount for subscribe and save, then it feels like the only thing I'm doing is communicating around how it's cheaper to buy this way. And you start to get people that just want things because they're cheaper. If I can offer more upfront, then I can add more value and offer more value. And I'm going to dissuade somebody who's just cheap, because they're not going to buy 2 or 3 bags at once. They probably can't afford to do that. So it gets more people that like that value. But then there's also the psychology of like anchoring and other things where people see, oh, well, this is, I might not want the 3 bags, but the 2 bags feels like just right for me, like, Goldilocks scenario and stuff. So I'd say that's a great place to start. The other thing then is starting to test like being able to add or bundle other products. If you have more than one SKU, look at testing free gift options. If you subscribe, you get this, if I'm selling protein powder, you get a 15-day electrolyte sample kit for every subscriber. Looking at bundle builders are a great way to do that as well. So if you have like a wider catalog, then I would look at start testing like products that are frequently bought together as a strategy for that. But again, some of the best brands are getting into like, the extreme cases are like the Magic Minds of the world, where you're promising like all of these things. I would recommend everybody go look at Elevate out of the UK. They're doing some stuff with collagen, where if you look at their thing, it's like 8 or 9 things that you get if you go all the way, and it's gamified. So it's like if you buy 1 month supply, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, the higher up you get, the more stuff you unlock. So they're doing an incredible job there as an example of that. So that's how I kind of think about it. And then it's really all about just the way I like to preach it is try to stack more value that doesn't cost you as much. So another really just coming back to this is, if I have a $100 product and I've got 70% margins, right? I've got $70 I could give away potentially. But the more I discount that, I get discount hunters. So 10% off of a $100 product is $10. 10% off a $50 product is $5. I would bet if you have more than one SKU that you have the landed cost of a product in your catalog that is less than $5 or $10, depending on what range you're at. So I know, so it's actually cheaper for you to offer the product instead of a more aggressive discount. And you attract buyers who want value for their dollar, not necessarily just discounts for their dollar. So it works for you in two ways.
Interesting. What do you think about sort of the ARMRA approach with like the heavy front-loaded discounts? So they are like 30% off first order and then 5% recurring. What do you think about that as like take rate maxing?
Yeah, that's definitely like the approach, and they're take rate maxing, and then they're looking at onboarding and getting used to the product. So if you feel like it, and so I would say a brand like ARMRA, like it's one of those funny things sometimes on the outside where it's really easy to assume that they're doing something right, but it's also really easy to assume that they don't know what they're doing. I would say it's most likely they know what they're doing, but I've worked with some really, really large brands in the hundreds of thousands of subscriptions, and they're trying to find the sweet spot on that discount piece that has a maximum amount of CVR lift, conversion rate lift, with the right amount of LTV long tail. So for example, that 30%, they've probably tested 35, 40, 45, 50. They've tested 25, all those things in that range. And they're probably right now fixated on, hey, this approach gets us people to buy. And it also is the right level of LTV where we can't get it. We could go higher LTV if we go way down, but the bottom dollars are not as impactful for us.
For sure. Love it. Makes a ton of sense. And so let's talk about that then with like increasing your subscription take rate, because, on paper, it's like, okay, a subscriber is worth, 2 times, 3 times more 12-month LTV or lifetime revenue. And so you think like, okay, let's get as many subscribers as possible. Let's have a subscription take rate at 80%, 90%. So what do you think, where do you think that sweet spot is for subscription take rate? And how do brands kind of like navigate that?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because when you're trying to grow, your ad team, your growth team is pushing for conversions. They're pushing for cash back in the bank, right? You're trying to close that loop. So it's difficult to push like revenue capture 2-3 months down the road for profitability, right? It's hard to do that. And so a lot of brands, even in the 5, 10, even the $20 million range, often don't always have as strong of a grasp on like LTV and contribution margin as they should. So that's kind of like the other place. Like if you are trying to find the sweet spot for CVR versus LTV, you really need to know what your contribution margin is per order happening, because then you have a better understanding of like the total profit I'm driving back into the business for depending on which lever I can pull, right? So I will say like there are a lot of really great brands that are heavy, like so Obvi and Javi do this, where like they're really trying to get like first order profitability and first order high AOV. Yes, they want to fix subscription retention too and have that work, but if I can get like 80% of the LTV that I need on the first order, a lot of brands, it makes sense for them. Not everybody can do that. And other brands will take less to get it down the stream. So I would just say it does require like understanding your numbers and creating this very simple. And the beauty is like, 2 years ago when I'm trying to explain this to people, like I give them Excel sheets or Google Sheets that I've built. And now you could just tell AI like, hey, here's the numbers, here's what I'm modeling, and it'll generate an Excel sheet for you. But you do need to model it out, the different scenarios, what the impact is. And in order to model it, you need to know what your contribution margin is, and you need to know what your retention and LTV numbers are for how long people are sticking around.
For sure. And do you have any sort of benchmarks? Because as you go more aggressive on subscription and force people to try to take subscription, usually your CAC rises because you're going to have people who don't want to subscribe. Right. And if you just have like banger offer on subscription, but one-time purchase just really looks bad, then you're going to drive up your CAC. Any sort of like ways to navigate that? Is there any sort of like increase in CAC you see?
I would say the brands we've worked with and the brands that I've collaborated with over the past, you go through phases, and so I think you might want to lean into making the subscription like really, really prominent and OTP either impossible or difficult, like maybe it's just a little hyperlink you click instead of an actual button, because that is what allows you to grow. But it's like you don't have to have it all figured out, because as you grow or not, things will change. Even if you don't, even if you just stay flat, like things might change and go against you or go in your favor. So I would say like you do have to make the choice that works for your business right then, but it should be based off of overall profitability. So if I'm willing to push that CAC level up because I have strong LTV numbers and I have a strong understanding of my LTV, then it makes tons of sense. And I can keep growing as long as that fits the model. At some point, my CAC numbers become untenable at that size and they're no longer worth it. So I start testing an OTP option or a gift with purchase or some other element to try to lower that CAC. Maybe I add a quiz funnel to the site or something like that to try to make it simpler for people. And then if that's good LTV for them, then that can work. So it really is just a question of like understanding your numbers where you are and know that there are different levers you can try to pull, and that everybody is trying some version of that at any given time.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, yeah, I'd
Theme
say
is know your numbers.
Yeah, no, you can.
Yeah, theme is know your numbers. As far as like onboarding acquisition, like theme is know your numbers, test your offers. It's just testing and then knowing your numbers. And specifically, like when you're testing, test different personas and test different offers, and stuff that makes sense financially for you. And it's not just like % off, dollar off, and throwing those away. And don't prioritize too crazy high subscription take rates because it might not necessarily make sense in the long term. Sweet. Okay, so let's move. So we talked about acquisition and offers. That was awesome. Let's move towards onboarding. So say we get this brand. Let's say we get a customer to convert off of our ads on subscription. Woo! It's a protein brand or whatever. Daily collagen protein sort of mix, whatever we want it to be. What, from the second I click checkout, I put my card information, what happens next? What is that ideal onboarding period to reduce churn and properly onboard customers in your mind?
Yeah, at a high level, you should be obsessed with on like product adoption. So like it makes me cringe when I see like sales emails in the first couple of days. It makes me cringe when I see a product that is not as obvious to use as somebody might think. Or like I have a lot of fun anecdotes and stories from brands I work with, so I'll share a couple here where I think like, and there's a lot of emails you can send. Like on that cancel page, I've got like 7 or 8 different onboarding templates you can rip off. But like, if you're selling a supplement, say it's creatine, and you believe that your science-backed, more efficient, effective, truer source, then that should be an email. And then you should have another email about when to take creatine and the science behind creatine. Like you should be driving adoption, like showing them how other people are using it. Again, I get it that it's creatine. It should feel obvious. It could even be a creatine gummy so you can take it on the go. But again, making sure that people start using the product, because my billing reminders and my subscriber portal and all that stuff does not matter if they love the product or they hate the product. And there's a lot of people in between. Those are the people we're trying to win. The only way you can get more people into the winning section is driving really great product experience. So here's a couple like really just quick anecdotes. I ordered some matcha tea from a client a couple years ago, and when I got it, and I'd never made matcha at home before, and in the box was this little thing that folded out. There's this big piece of paper that was in this really beautiful calligraphy type thing, and it was all about making the perfect cup of matcha tea. It helped me make an incredible first cup. And I even messaged the founder. I was like, I actually felt like I had no idea what being in a Japanese tea house feels like, but that's what I felt like I was in. Because it was just felt like an amazing experience, right? And so that has an amazing experience. Another one, I ordered a sleep supplement. And the sleep supplement had no instructions in the box or on the box about how long you take it before bed, like how long it takes to work. And I'm like, wait a second. When do I take this? And so then I'm looking that answer up. So it's like simple things that you can lean into or that you're forgetting. The one that I love the most that I've mentioned for years, because it's a product I still use, is called X Endurance. It's a supplement for CrossFit endurance athletes. It really, really works, but they prove it to you. When you get it, they tell you not to take it right away. They tell you to go do your big workout of the week without it, and then start taking it. Take it for 7 days and then go do that same big workout again. they're basically challenging you to prove them right or prove them wrong. And when you do that, like I'm on this podcast talking about it like 3 years later, right? Like I bought skincare from these guys because I trust them so much because they've demonstrated that they could be trustworthy. So that's where you look at onboarding emails. I would look at unboxing experience. If your product is tricky in any way, shape, or form, or a device or anything like that, you should be investing in inserts for first orders. I think that it's criminally underrepresented when you get like an order confirmation or shipping confirmation that you're not then also reinforcing good product adoption. Like, if it's skincare, where do you put it in your cabinet? Like, how do you use it? Like tips for including it in your routine, all of those things. The other example we had off of Space Goods was like they started figuring out from talking to other customers how to make the best cup of mushroom coffee. And when they figured that out, they then included that in their onboarding series. And guess what? LTV, like retention's up. So that's how I think about it. You have to drive product adoption. Anything that's not driving product adoption is a problem. Yes, sometimes cross sells can do that for you. So like if it's creatine, like, hey, pair this with another supplement, that kind of thing. I get that can be effective, but you've got to be focused on product adoption.
100%. Love it. And what I like to think of is, you live and breathe your product all day, every day. What's obvious to you might not be obvious to the customer. This is like, explain it like it's an alien, somebody who doesn't know. Even if it's so obvious that like, yes, you have to take creatine every day. The regular person like doesn't know that. It's like, even if I don't work out today, do I have to take it? So make sure you drive that home. What's obvious to you, it's not obvious to everybody else. So I love that onboarding experience on the package insert as well. And one thing as well, like on the cross sells, I think like the most successful cross sells that I've seen on subscription is we're going to talk about like free gifts as well and when to use free gift roadmaps and incentive roadmaps, is doing those cross sells with, I don't see a lot of success with cross sells within onboarding, personally. Yeah. I don't see a lot of success with it. Yeah, exactly. And you just risk churn and you risk brand sort of like affinity. But you can add the cross sells that you want as samples in your next order. Exactly. And it doubles as a free gift, and so it keeps people on, but it's also a cross sell and product expansion opportunity. And that's where you can have a package insert in there as well on this product pairs perfectly.
I just got some creatine. Cool. I'm going to take the gummies, but I was buying it for the cancel page. And when I opened it up, I ordered watermelon. So I had this big bag of watermelon and there was like 3 or 4 other flavors in there because they know that if I don't like the taste of watermelon, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, you're fucked.
And so, but if I don't like the taste of watermelon, I could taste some of these others. But also anybody who's willing to switch flavors to something that they like more or that they want to try more is a higher LTV customer. And so if they're like, hey, it doesn't cost us very much to just include some of these things in there. So that's how you should be thinking about it. It's like, I love that suggestion. It's like you include other product. Again, if I bought creatine and you want to give me like 3 things, a pre-workout to try too, like boom, now I get a surprise and delight. That sounds cool to me. And that can drive product adoption for both of them.
Absolutely, 100%. Love it. So we've talked about package inserts, using package inserts to your advantage, because also packages have 100% open rate, and so make sure that you're using inserts to your advantage there. Then you talked about like shipping emails, transactional emails. It sounds like also customizing those because they have super high open rates, and then making sure you fit in onboarding emails and whatnot into there. And so that's the whole journey. As far as like any sort of things with like check-ins, like after so onboarding to me is, first right until somebody gets the product and then, within the first week, and then it kind of moves to this transition period before the first rebill. And so any other sort of things within, so obviously send a few emails with product adoption, customize those shipping notification emails, and then product inserts. Is there any sort of stuff that you've seen success with? Like you see brands doing, check-ins, like 7-day check-ins, anything like that before the next rebill that you mess around with, or do you avoid sending during that time?
No, it does. I would say like, we do like try to be careful about whether we use it or not. Like, so for example, like protein powder, like I want to make sure you have a good first 7 to 10 days is kind of how I would say it, depending on the timing of when you order and you get the product. But after that, like unless I know that it's like a different type of protein and that you're new to it, I don't want to bug you. Like I shouldn't. Like I might send some content if I know what your goals are. Like if you're training for like a high rocks or something like that, then it can feel good to like get tips on training and stuff like that. But there are other cases where like say skincare brands, like, cause again, we're trying to think about like long-term retention. So skincare brands, supplements that don't have an immediate impact. So like, testosterone or hormones for menopause and perimenopause, because we're really active in that space, that's when it starts getting to like, okay, actually it might be a good idea to set the stage for when a renewal is going to happen. And so skincare is like, hey, can I get somebody to take a before picture? Like before you've taken it, or you've only taken it a couple of days, take a picture, send it to us. And then 30 days later, I'm going to ask you to take another picture. And so like that's one method that can be really effective. On the supplements one, it's like I'm starting to share information about other people and their journey. And I'm trying to be really, maybe not too subtle, but somewhat subtle in the fact that this is like a 3-month game to feel the impact. Yeah. Like this is how you might feel. And so without getting into like the secret sauce of some of the brands we've worked with, because nobody likes having their secrets revealed. That is one of the methods where some brands that you might be surprised are like really, really active. Like I've worked with a lot of them. Some of them don't want to touch them, and other ones are like, no, we want to communicate. Yeah. And those are the interesting brands because they're driving retention. If you're scared to message your subscribers, I think it's the beginning of the end, period. But anyway, so that's another thing to think about is just what happens with your product? How are people using it? How are people thinking about it? And what can I do to try to set the stage so that the renewal feels like the right next step?
100%. And if you're scared to talk to your subscribers, you're not confident in your product, and you probably have a shitty product. that's probably that. And it's a fun little thing there is with consumption, sort of also like gifts. If somebody completes a specific thing, such as doing consumption sort of challenges, like hey, fill out this sheet every single day that you use the product, and then send a picture and email it to us after 60 days. We'll send you X% off for this gift. Or skincare, or say your testosterone supplement or protein supplement or weight loss sort of thing. Hey, it's day 14. Take a picture, and then if you take this before picture, and then after day 90, you take an after picture, send it to us both times, we're going to send you this sort of gift. That also just like sets the stage and sets the frame that, all right, I'm going to use this product for 3 months before I really make a decision and before I really like judge if this works or not. So I think that does a good job setting the stage for that. So I'll kind of consider this onboarding as we transition to the next section, which is sort of like retention as well. But let's talk about like free gift roadmaps. We've talked about it a little bit. Kind of like where there's the brands that are super aggressive with it, like Everyday Dose, for example, where every single month for like damn near a year, you're getting some sort of like physical free gift in one way or another. They're a coffee brand. Right. Where do you stand on free gifts, and do you see true impact here? Do you recommend only doing them at high impact months? Kind of like where do you start off here when you're considering if a brand should roll this out?
Yeah, I'm a little contrarian here because I've been in the space for a while, and I've seen a lot of people, and especially like tech platforms that are pushing a feature where it's like, gift second order to drive retention. And the problem is whenever we've run tests with that, and granted, we could have spent a lot more time testing it maybe, and it would have been better, but it's like, okay, if I have 1,000 people in a cohort and month one, 90% of them hit the second month. So now I've got 900 people I'm sending a $2, $5 gift to. So I'm spending like almost $2,000, if not more, on that cohort. Am I getting a $2,000 lift off of that retention play? And even if it goes up by 5%, so now I've got another, what is that? 50 orders, 45 orders. Are those 45 orders worth the $2,000? And so that's where I come back to the acquisition retention thing. So my issue with gifting after the point of purchase is it either needs to be like a surprise, a true surprise in the sense of like, we mentioned the samples and the product because that feels really cool, or it needs to be really clearly communicated. because otherwise I think you're giving away margin and you're wasting your time, because a lot of people would renew. Like, to me, like the whole rise of AI, I was talking to a really cool AI platform on retention that's trying to like get really good at targeting who is, when a platform tells me that they can target who should be getting the gift because they're at risk on month 2, I'll sign up. But otherwise, the gifting strategy needs to be in the acquisition layer. People need to know. So like Everyday Dose, and I said Magic Mind earlier, I meant Everyday Dose. I don't know why, but those two are like synonymous in my mind. Everyday Dose is, and the Elevate brand I mentioned, they're telling you what you're getting so that they use that to get you in the door. That's how they add value. It's how they lower their CAC. It's how they increase like retention. It's because they tease you with that, how it's going. When you onboard a new subscriber, if you have a gifting program, that should be part of the onboarding. Like, mention, here's what you're getting over the next few months. Like, here's like, everybody says you get gifts and discounts. We'll show them what they're going to get and then give it to them. So if you set them up and show it to them ahead of time, it can be really, really impactful. The only other time I would say is like, if you can be more targeted. So if I can start to identify that, hey, this one SKU is a potential for a higher potential for VIP customers, like people that buy product A are more likely to get into or accelerate their purchases and get into a VIP tier. Well, then maybe I want to test gifting for that product or that cohort. And so that's why I would say is like being much more targeted after the fact is how I would phrase it. Otherwise, I just think that you're losing time and you're losing margin.
100%. 100%. And it's like, what's the point of you? Because the whole mechanism of a free gift is to improve your conversions and to decrease churn. And so if you're not telling people about it, then it's pretty much pointless. We're just throwing away margins. And so when we say, like, tell people about it, for example, if you have a free gift in order 2 on the first rebill, obviously tell about that on the product page when somebody buys, like, hey, this free gift is what you're getting. And then also in your onboarding, we even go as far as every single, so maybe we have like 6 emails in our onboarding sequence. There's a little banner at the top of every single email that says free gift in your next order, free gift valued at this, valued at this. And then once you get to the billing reminder, hey, free gift in your next order. And the whole frame around the billing reminder is this. And so that's like the right way to do it. If I'm giving a free gift, but none of those onboarding emails, that billing reminder has no mention of it, people are going to churn. And then there's no point. And then the people who didn't churn, they were staying anyways. So that free gift has no incremental benefit. So it's just throwing away margin.
We have been testing and seeing some interesting too with where we're trying to get people to opt into a gift. So in the billing reminder, you'll see that like, hey, we've got this really cool thing for you on your next order. Click here to redeem it. And so anybody who clicks it then gets tagged that they get it. And so that way we can filter out people that maybe don't see the email or that don't care, because it's really hard to say, like, yes, somebody might still cancel once they get the product, but very few people are going to click to redeem an offer and then cancel before the order actually processes, because now they're not getting their gift. So I think there's that. And then the other one, I think Loop just rolled this out, but the other method that I'd like to see become more common, so, SKU, recharge, stay, all those, if you're listening, I've talked to a couple of them about this, is in the window where you have the billing reminder email happen. So that 3 days, say, for example, the billing reminder, and when somebody would log their order processes, control a pop-up inside the subscription portal, so that if somebody logs into the portal in that window, you're mentioning that they have a gift. And then if they're not in that window, they don't see it, because that's when they're at risk the most. So again, for me, you have to either set the stage so that people know it, because then it's a retention tactic, or as a last ditch save before somebody attempts a cancellation.
Yeah, I have not messed around with the click to claim the deal. I love that as well.
Yeah, that's a fun one, because you could play with that in the email side too, with like copy and how that looks and stuff like that. Using 100%. Zamo to make it like interactive and stuff, so.
Exactly. I literally have Zamo pulled up, and I'm looking at the Byte example on their website to try to see on any of these ones if they're doing that. That is super interesting. Okay, sweet. Now so within the customer portal, so you touched on the customer portal. I'd love to touch on that because I feel like that's the not as sexy thing. Like everybody talks about billing reminders and order confirmations, onboarding, but then you have the customer portal, which is, where people go to churn. So what are your sort of common mistakes that you see within the customer portal, and sort of like best practices in your mind?
See, it's funny. You mentioned you think that people don't talk about it, but I think people talk about it too much. Like if you look at all the subscription platforms, they all talk about the portal because that's what they're selling, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm an email marketer, so I just
Klaviyo does your email, right? So like they're all trying to own that experience. So I often get annoyed actually at somebody going to picking. So what I get annoyed at is when somebody goes, "Hey, I picked this platform over this platform because I liked the way the portal looked in this other one better," and I go, "Excuse me."
Yeah, usually if someone's in the portal, it's almost too late most of the time.
Yeah, it's almost too late. So what I would say is like I think it's really, really table stakes to make sure that the subscription order is clearly visible. So I'd go one step further to say, look at your login experience, like account portal access experience. Like are people having, if they go to log in and then they have to find the subscription button, they have to find the order button, subscription order button, right? So like look through that because a lot of brands don't pay that much attention to it. Might get CX tickets. So I'd actually look at that experience, how easy it is for somebody to find where the subscription is. Because I can guarantee you if they were on the fence and they can't find it, they're canceling, right? So that's one opportunity. Then the other would be like looking at simple, like depending on how you've mentioned these examples of like the gift thing, right? So like if you are doing gifts, then that should be a journey banner at the top. Like this is what you're getting on your orders, or like this is what it means to be a subscriber. I do think that simple upsells in there, but it really does come down to most people hit the subscriber portal because they're updating their frequency, or they're swapping a flavor, or they're skipping an order, or they're canceling. And so while I understand why somebody wants to create that into like a sales channel for all those things, and while that can still be effective, like I work with 9-figure brands that don't generate ridiculous amount, as much revenue as you might think from like things getting added to their order in the portal. That's what we do with email and with Zamo. And so, right. And so that's where I see those are better channels for doing that kind of thing. So my advice is just looking at customer experience. And then depending on the platform you're on, because all of them are a little different between Recharge, Stay, Loop, Skeel, they're all just a little bit different in what they offer here. Lean into the strengths. Like Loop does a really good job of, if you set surprise and delight rules, it will show a dynamic journey banner in the top, right? Yeah. Skeo, you can dynamically show different banners to people based on their segment or their purchase order number, right? Stay has got like these punch card features and like a lot of things you can swap in and out. And then Recharge has some of that as well, like what you can control collections that people see to like add to their products. So I would say that's my other advice is whenever you're on, like bug your CSM or go Google their help docs like about their portal and make sure that you're taking advantage of those features. But again, don't over engineer it. Focus on customer experience and spend tons of time on your cancel flow.
Yep, 100%. I'm a big advocate for bug the shit out of your CSM and getting everything that you can out of them and getting as much onto their plate as you can. I specifically tell that to my team. It's like every single brand, every single subscription brand we have, we got to get in contact ASAP with the CSM and get them to do as much of the shit for us, like within the portal and all that stuff as possible, so we can focus on email.
Yeah, they're getting paid a lot of money. They're getting paid a lot.
Okay, perfect. So I don't need to feel as bad. I don't need to feel as bad anymore. Sweet. And then one question and something that I've been diving into recently for some of our brands is our customers who are skipping, pausing, and like delaying. Yeah. A lot of times I'm finding that a lot of people who delay, they just cancel for their upcoming order anyways. And I also mess around, or I also have been going through different data and deep dives on what are the cadences we allow people to pause and skip and all that sort of stuff. Right. And I'm curious like where you land on this, because like my mind where I'm at right now is I don't want to allow anybody to pause. Like somebody can skip one order, that's okay, completely fine. You have too much, that's great. And the most somebody can delay is 30 days or 2 weeks, 4 weeks. That's it. And then you can either skip your order, delay 2 weeks, delay 4 weeks. Because when I look at the numbers, like it just really makes our forecasting weird with how many people,
Yeah.
like, are we actually going to get rebills with our active subscribers? I'd almost like rather you cancel, because a lot of these people end up canceling anyways. Anything like on that train of thought that sticks out to you and how you view this side
Well,
of things?
I really like how you framed it, and I'll go a little bit further to say, like, one, I hate pauses. So, like, and I also hate the naming of it, because now pausing is like a timed skip or a timed delay.
Yeah, I hate it. Let's do one or the other.
So don't call it a pause. If you're unpausing automatically, it's not a pause. It's a delay. And so and I hate pauses, because then somebody just sits there forever and nothing ever happens to them.
10% reactivation rate or something. It's essentially
it's really, really bad. And so skips is, I agree with you too, like the skipping control and the delaying the order control, I would wholeheartedly agree. Might test that a little bit on the 30 days, depending on the product. Like if I'm selling a giant bag of protein powder, I'm more likely to let somebody skip 2 months or whatever. The thing though is to keep in mind is if I can get people to adjust frequency, right? So we did a study a few years ago when I was at Autoship Cloud, and we looked at people that adjust their frequency 3 times are 200% higher LTV than other subscribers, because people are finding the right fit. I was a Dollar Shave Club subscriber for like 7 years, and I would get my razors at like on a 7-week like cadence. Like it was really random, but I could pick that and it worked for me. So you do want to make that kind of easy. For frequency adjustments should be really easy and really intuitive to adjust. Like, hey, I want this every 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks, or I want this every 5 or 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So I think that makes a lot of sense. The delay and skip actions, though, 100%. We just ran. It's funny we're talking about this, because I was just like doing some reporting and analysis for one of our largest customers. They just had this big sale period, and we pushed people into the portal to choose and gave a bonus for clicking Get Now. And so we structured the whole campaign around that. It was really effective. And then looking at the analysis now is what we're looking at, is exactly what you're asking is, okay, skip is I'm just delaying revenue. Would I be willing to have somebody get a better discount to Get Now instead of doing that, or be even more aggressive because it's guaranteed revenue? And the skip people, they may or may not come back, right? Or they may just go skip again, so you force them to cancellation. I do believe also in, like, if you can get somebody, it's like a good sales cycle. If somebody's not telling you yes, very often they're telling you no. And so you should push them out the door so you put them into your win-back strategies and your re-engagement strategies. Because otherwise they're sitting in this weird limbo where maybe they're not getting that, or they're opted out. Maybe especially if you're opting subscribers out of your email segments, which I think most people should do at least for the first month or two. But so now I'm not getting anything from you. I have a pause subscription or a subscription I keep skipping or delaying, and you're not getting any revenue, and you're not even marketing to me because of it.
100%. I want to talk about Winback and recovery here. Yeah. But one more question. It's just because we haven't touched on campaigns towards active subscribers, specifically around, I think most everybody's, same sort of boat, like active subscribers, you treat them differently than your regular email list, of course. Probably reduced frequency. But maybe mix in, a couple subscriber specific things a month if you want to do that. Maybe a subscriber specific newsletter, something like that. Like definitely lower frequency. The question that I have is around, new product drops and sale periods. When you do something like we have, the 4th of July sales. So we had 4th of July last month. Where do you land with active subscribers on how, if you send different offers to them, new product releases, do you do things differently? Like specific to subscribers, it's like, hey, 40% off new product if you add it to your next order, and use that sort of functionality. Like, what's your campaign philosophy for these events towards your active subscribers?
Yeah, the first part of the philosophy is to have an actual intention behind it, because the brands that are doing one or the other, they're doing it because, like, again, some brands won't. Well, I'll say some of the funniest things, and this has been at $30-40 million subscription brands. They'll say, we don't send billing reminders because it causes cancellations, but we opt everybody into campaigns. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen that and heard that. So I think it comes down to intention. So depending on their size and capacity, and every brand I could talk about like the ideal scenario, but it's hard to always get at that because there's so many things going on, is if subscribers make up a large portion of your revenue every month, you should be segmenting subscribers into their own cohort and treating them differently. Same way you would as abandoned cart, browse abandonment, and different segments and how you're thinking about testing offers. It's the same way you think about it. And then if you go deeper onto that, if this is where things get kind of messy, is if you run a 4th of July sale and you go site-wide 20% off, but I'm already a subscriber at 20% off, how does that benefit me? Yeah. And so it takes a little bit of time and practice to get into the habit of like, okay, let's think through the subscription offer, which is, we might be 30% off for subscribers, or, free gift to subscribers that try this new product, or 40% to add this to your next order. So I would recommend doing that through email. I like it in the portal as well if it's the right type of product, especially for like new product drops. That's a great place to put it, is in the portal. Using quick action links or Zamo to get people to add that to their next order is really, really effective. But I would just say it comes down to intention. Like you just think it through as a strategy. And instead of thinking through like, BFCM's coming up, it's right around the corner. And I get this every year where you have massive brands that are thinking huge dollar signs, and then they have their cohort of subscribers, which are massively valuable, and they plan for the broad, cold, or lukewarm audience, and they then have all this churn because all these subscribers then ditch their offer to come back to the site and grab the better deal. And that happens all the time. So if you don't think through the right approach to what you're going to offer to who, how you're going to market to people, then you're going to miss out and you're going to hurt your bottom line.
100%. I'd love just one last question here before cancel and Winback is, Black Friday and how you do that. Say it's a, 5 mil, 10 mil a month subscription brand, so like 50 mil. Say they have, 5-ish core subscription SKUs and big subscriber base, obviously. What's like that Black Friday offer for the active subscribers? Say they're doing, up to 50% off site-wide, like usually, like where does your mind go on those offers and how would you treat them differently? Would you add them towards the regular list? Would you treat them separately? It sounds like treat them separately, but would you give them a different offer? Obviously nuanced, but where do you first go?
Well, that's always come back to the intention question is I first would ask the brand, do you care if your subscribers are going to cancel and go get this other offer? Because if you care, you can't do 50% site-wide. Like your subscribers are going to hear about it or see about it. Like it's just going to happen. Yes, you might be able to like keep them out or whatever, but you're blasting it everywhere. It's on your socials, it's on your ads, it's on email, like retargeting, like all kinds of things. So that's the first question. If you're okay with people canceling to come get the offer, then don't worry about it. Like do whatever is going to motivate like the sale and get those numbers. Although again, I might argue that it might hurt your contribution margin might not be as good. If you do care, then let's think through special subscription specific offers and then here's where it gets to. Do you really want to run 50% site wide because you're going to have 200x sales on BFCM or 300x sales, 300% sales? Or would you rather run subscription focused offers? Like a VIP offer to become a subscriber, right? And then that way, like, yes, certain products might be 50. So there's how we kind of try to layer that in, but I'm trying to get subscribers because they're generally speaking more valuable, and focusing on that first as opposed to just total sales for the website. So if I focus on the subscription offer first, then I can start thinking about, okay, I'm actually going to do 40% site wide. However, for subscribers, any product they add during the sale is 50% off. Or if you commit on your product and you do the prepaid or do the 3-month bulk option, I'm going to gift you another 2 months or something like that. So it's like, if I'm going to be that aggressive, I should start by being aggressive by locking in more sales with a really active, engaged cohort. And then I'll just trickle that down. And then the way it makes more sense is my email marketing team and my ad team, I'm going to say, hey, just keep in mind that all subscribers get this. So if somebody's down here and they think this is a good offer, they should see what subscribers are getting. They could subscribe and still get all that too.
Love it. Absolutely. And just one more thing on offers from my end is just one of my biggest pet peeves is when we have some sort of site-wide sale, but we don't also layer in a subscription offer into it. So for example, 4th of July sale, you do say 20% off site-wide. Say you also have a subscribe and save 20% off offer. If you stack those discounts, it's pretty much 40% off if you subscribe that first month. And a lot of brands will just lead with, hey, 20% off site-wide. It's like, no, we got 40% off subscription first order, like 40%
save
off.
up to 40%. Yeah.
Exactly, 40% off. And then 20%, if you want one time, then go ahead 20% off. And so that's an easy way also to push for subscriptions. And so I'm hoping to see a lot of that on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is we're going to be leading with a lot of that and give
and do the timing so that it
incentives.
drops. Like you mentioned Armra, like what we're saying is like if I do an aggressive sale discount to get someone in a subscription, we don't see as big of a drop if some of that stuff goes away. So if it's like, hey, subscribers are actually getting 40% off this order, and then you get 20% off lifetime. Like that's a way to like just solve that problem too.
Absolutely. Banger. Love it. All right. Last section here is on cancellations, win-back, and recovery as we close things out here. So the cancel flow, when somebody goes into their customer portal, it's like, all right, I'm canceling. What's your take on the cancel flow within the platform? What are your thoughts on, obviously, just walk me through the best practices.
First thing, and again, this is I've got a guide for a video script on the cancel page. It's actually on the subscription doc as well on
thecancelpage.com.
thecancelpage.com.
When I hear the cancel page, I'm like, oh, we're talking about the cancel page, but thecancelpage.com, the resource.
Yeah, and the reason it's called that is because I say the cancel page shouldn't exist. So it's all about, if you're a brand, you should be focusing on everything before this point to make sure that people don't have a reason to come to the cancel page.
Yeah.
But the first things first is a splash screen video from the founder. Like universally, it improves save rates. So, and if you don't have a clear founder persona, then pick a brand voice or a brand spokesman kind of thing, or just a hire.
Is this available on every platform as well? Do you need to go through
basically
the support
everybody
team?
A year or two ago it was a little bit riskier, but I think even now Stay with their new subscriber portal that they've rolled out is available. So Skio, I think, was pioneering it. Recharge was pretty quick to adopt it as well. But every brand we put that in. I'm talking about like a brand that is like struggling. They come to us that they've got 5-6% save rate. Yes, we do other stuff, which I'll talk about, but the first thing is a founder video and it jumps 10%. So they go from like a 5% save rate to a 15% save rate. Yeah. Just because you're talking to them. It's a 1 minute thing of like empathy and education on you can adjust or do whatever action you need to make sense for you, and we still love you and care about you and come back, even if you want to cancel, you can come back whenever you want.
Yep. And on that splash screen, it's that founder video, and then do you also push delay options, or is it just like, save my subscription or go to cancel?
We've tested some different things. Like we were running skip for a while, and that was really effective at increasing the save rate. But then it's like, but does that have the same impact on revenue? Because it can hurt revenue. So then it's like looking at delay actions, right? So looking at delay actions or proceeding. If you know what your common like issue is, so if it's like expense, it's too expensive, then you could test running a discount there. Otherwise, it's generally too much product, and that's where like a delay or a skip action can make the most sense. So that's step one, and that's a no-brainer. It's like literally take the template off our website, drop it into AI, drop your website in, it'll write your script. It's a 1 minute. It's not complicated. Do it. After that, there's kind of two things. I get a ton of pushback. So I've talked on this podcast a little bit, haven't picked up on it yet, where I kind of hate discounting upfront on subscriptions. Mm-hmm. Like I would like to see a world where there's so much value that the subscription costs more, but that's a total another tangent. But discounts in the cancel flow are the most effective lever you have. Like we've tested gifting, and gifting can work, but gifting is not as effective as bigger discounts. Generally speaking, discounts on this order as opposed to discounts over time. Although again, you can test both to find out if it's true for your brand or not. And a lot of brands say, hey, we have tight margins, we can't make it work. It's like, well, I'm talking about going from a 20% save offer to a 30% save offer. That's 10% of the cost of the product. That does eat into your margin, but otherwise they're gone.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? So that's another thing. But I got a little bit ahead of myself. The other part is just, it's the methodology is trying to, I would say it like this, is you should have 6 or 7 questions. You really don't need more than that. If you have more than that, that's what other is for. And my idea is with 6 or 7 questions, I want to take out the 1 or 2 on a monthly basis that don't really get answered that much or picked that much, and use other for that, and then get more specific. So when somebody says that the product is too expensive, that's actually often means that they haven't seen enough value to want to keep, it's not worth the money, or their budget has actually changed. And so just think about like, if somebody hasn't seen enough value versus somebody doesn't actually have the budget, I can give a discount to both and it might save for both, but I can adjust copy for the people that haven't seen enough value that explains why, like, oh yeah, you're right. A lot of people cancel to go shop, pick this up off the counter at Walgreens. Well, let me tell you why that's costing you money, right? Or you don't have enough money, empathy, times are hard. It's a wellness product. We care so much about your health. We're willing to give you 40, 50% off this next order.
Yeah.
Then same thing with like too much product. Too much product could mean I never started using your product. Too much product is I'm on the wrong schedule.
Yeah.
And so I can adjust copy for those two. So the philosophy is trying to get more nuanced with the questions. And then over time, we're looking at how we can, within the platform. And so this is just phases, like when a brand comes to us. Other brands are farther ahead in the scale where you're starting to segment. I could segment by the month that they're on. I could segment by the type of product they bought. I could segment, most platforms will let you segment by LTV or other metrics. And so that's where we're seeing that as well, is like, hey, depending on your basket size, I'm going to be more aggressive or less aggressive.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to use flat dollars. Hey, here's $20 off your order instead of 20%. But the $20 off doesn't work if you can't segment like to people that have over $100 basket value, right? Kind of thing. So that's the methodology. And then everything that we start to uncover, where if somebody's telling us they don't see enough value, that's an onboarding email and experience problem to then go back and solve. So that's where we create this feedback loop of, if people don't have the right frequency or they're canceling because they have too much product, then I'm not explaining how easy it is to adjust like how much you're getting on an order kind of thing. So that's the kind of playbook that I would say we run.
Yeah, love it. And then do you use any sort of other tools for that, or you just keep everything within platform? Because there are other outside tools you can use, but do you just prefer in platform?
The only one that we've used outside of like the platform is ProsperStack, because they have a lot more control. And there are a few instances where that makes a ton of sense, a lot more control in what you're offering, both in the cancel portal, but the cancel flow, but the customer portal as well.
Yeah, 100%. Perfect. And then somebody goes through the cancel flow, they still cancel. And then then our only options here are email and SMS. So what's your sort of like cancel confirmation? Do you send offers in that immediate cancel confirmation? What does it look like on Winback email and SMS for churned subscribers? What happens like after the cancel for you?
Yeah, if somebody can't, like, so I would say, like, I don't like putting them in the confirmation, because if I have a great offer, I should have used it in the portal or in the flow, right? Like, so if you're doubling down, then you should have doubled down.
And they still canceled.
And they still canceled, right? And they still canceled. Otherwise, I want to really try to set the stage for bringing them back, right? Like, so if, again, some education or something really simple, or, you know, hey, we get it. But like, again, if it's a supplement, like, you know, people really need to take this for a while. So if you notice differences, like, please come back to us kind of thing. And then there was a really big push for a while, and it's still pretty active, where you segment win-back offers based off of cancellation reasons. Yeah. Like, you know, if somebody's too expensive, then I'm having a flow or at least one email that's really talking about price versus, you know, product or, you know, whatever other issue they have. And while we still do that a little bit, like we're pivoting more, just because it comes back to the same thing as, like, if you have good offers, it doesn't really matter why they canceled. And so I'd rather be faster at testing effective win-back offers for everyone than I would be testing individual offers in 3 or 4 or 5 flows. And so that's where I'd say, like, you know, like, say you've got the 5 SKUs you mentioned, you were subscribed to product A. Well, I'm going to give you 50% off if you come back and you buy product A and B together. Yeah. Or I'm going to give you free product B for 3 months if you subscribe to 3 months of product A, kind of thing. So it's like you can be really aggressive in those. I think the segmenting by cancellation reasons, it's like not a bad strategy. You can do it. If you have the bandwidth to manage it, do it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I just say, like, or just test different win-back offers every week or 2 weeks and see how well the click rate and reactivation rate is.
Yeah, and you'll get a lot more volume that way. You can get more conclusive results that way, rather than if you split your list 7 different ways. instead of doing that. And so I like that as well. And just going out amicably, accepting your losses, and just setting the stage for, you know what, we've appreciated you while we've had you. We'll always be here. When you want to come back, we're always here. And going out amicably. Amazing. Well, that covers every single stage. We've run through everything.
There's one more thing.
Tell me.
We need to talk about dunning and processing.
That's the one thing that we didn't go over.
I just say, like, every subscription app is going to tell you that they're best at it. I would look at potentially some third-party providers, or you can actually get better at how you're emailing people to. So whether you're using Churnbuster or Flycode or, oh my gosh, they start with an R. Philip Page's company. Redux. There's a lot of people that will help you with your dunning and your processing health to capture more revenue. But if you're doing a few million a year in subscription revenue, you're probably losing 5 to 10% of that revenue in just bad processing and bad dunning practices.
Gotcha. And so keeping that in platform, what's sort of like the email setup that you're doing there and recharge sort of best practices?
Yeah, so the problem is, like, there's a little bit of limitation. What I really like about Skio in this instance is Skio will let us segment by payment type failure. So if they're on PayPal, we can send a PayPal specific flow, which we do, a Shop Pay specific flow, a regular credit card specific flow, because those are different reactivation steps. And then you always have credit card reactivation as a fallback. So if they're on PayPal, but PayPal's annoying for them, here's your reactivation thing. So we are segmenting by those, and we are trying to send more emails on that process, because the subscription platform is trying to process and get those to fire, right? And then when it reaches a failure state, or however that trigger happens, you should then start emailing and using SMS if you have it at your disposal. Amazing time for SMS as well, because you have nothing to lose. The order isn't processing. They're either going to cancel, or it's not going to process, or they're going to come back. So you should be pretty aggressive in how you try to get people back once they've hit dunning.
Beautiful. Love it. There we go. Thank you for catching that. Beautiful. All right. Well, that was amazing. Absolute masterclass. Tons of value here. Just one last question. If brand went through this whole thing, they're overwhelmed, lots of stuff that they've heard. We've obviously gone over a lot of things. Like, if you could say one thing that you hope a brand does after this episode, or one takeaway that they got, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say it's, if you're not understanding what customers are really experiencing in the platform with the product, like, I think a great exercise is have your whole team get up on a whiteboard and just write down what people like and hate about your product, and see what comes out of it. If you feel confident in that, then you should be really great at offer testing. So that's the thing. When you whiteboard those ideas, like, it just becomes so obvious. Like, I can't tell you how many times we've done that with a brand, and they just start explaining it, and there's 2 words on the board, and it's like, one of them was like a really great supplement. People don't understand how long the product takes to work. And I said, well, of course they don't understand that. We're not telling them. And then churn goes down and retention goes up. So that's what I would think about. Understand the program more.
Love it. On top of that, another little exercise, which is good, is get the company card. Have all your different employees use the company card to buy your product and live through that whole experience. And then come back and meet each other. Buy it for your family members. Be like, hey, I'm going to pay for this. Use this card info. I want you to try the product. I want you to go through the whole experience and let me know what you think. And then just get super in-depth feedback.
It's funny because we do that when we get signed up as an agency. We'll do a test order. But yeah, have other people do them for you. I love that idea.
Love it. Love it. Amazing. Well, Matthew, thank you so much. Where can we find you? Obviously, anybody, going to have it linked below, thecancelpage.com. This is amazing. Best subscription resource that I've seen by far. If you're a subscription brand or anybody involved in subscription, you got to check it out. Link will be below. Anything else, where can we find you? And where can we find you?
Yeah, look up thesubscriptiondoc.com is my agency website, and has a booking link if you want to talk shop with me. Otherwise, look for The Subscription Doc or Matthew Holman on Twitter and LinkedIn. I don't know if you've seen, I've been dropping these fun little, breakdowns of subscription experiences that apparently are turning out to be somewhat popular. It's kind of blowing me away, but anyway.
Love it. All of it will be linked below. Thank you, Matthew. Such a value bomb. Excited to share this with everybody. Appreciate it, and we'll see everybody in the next one.
Thanks, man. It's been fun.